this look right?
Yeah.
Hi, my name's Kyle Cook, and I run the Web Dev Simplified YouTube channel and brand.
How will you describe yourself?
That's a tough one. If I had to describe myself, I would probably do it in two different ways. The first would be that I'm a relatively introverted person. You may not realize that because I make videos that millions of people have seen, but to me, I don't really see it that way. Instead, I'm just sitting in my office talking to a camera by myself. It's about as introverted as you could possibly get.
Hello everyone, my name's Kyle and this is Web Dev Simplified, where we make the web easy to understand and accessible for everyone. Hello everybody, welcome back to Web Dev Simplified. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about regular expressions. I'm going to be covering all of the basics of React. By the end of this video, you're not only going to understand how to read complicated types like this, but I'm also going to teach you the skills you need to know to actually be able to write.
I don't have to go out very much because I work from home, so I have a pretty introverted and somewhat isolated lifestyle, and I actually quite enjoy it. The other thing about myself is that I really get obsessed into things when I'm interested in them. For example, when I was interested in web development, I spent hours and hours watching every video I could on YouTube, reading every article I could, trying to learn as much as I possibly could about it. It's the same exact thing with like guitar or working out. I'll spend as much time as possible gathering as much knowledge as I can. Guitar is definitely a big passion of mine. I really enjoy playing, and I try to play at least an hour every day if I can, and I even like to take lessons once a week so that I can really try to sharpen my skills, but I definitely have a long ways to go. The best part about working from home by far is the flexibility to do whatever you want, cook meals while you're working, be able to leave and do things that you need to do, like take care of the house and stuff like that. But also, that's kind of the worst thing about working from home is you have a million things that you can be doing. And a lot of times my wife will always be like, oh, hey, can you go do this? Can you do this? Because you're from home right now. It's easy for you to do it while I'm working. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You have the freedom to do whatever you want, but you also have all the things that you could possibly be doing. So it's easy to get distracted while you're working. It's delicious. So the question of where I grew up is a little bit complicated because I kind of grew up all over the place when I was first growing up in Iowa. I was born in Iowa and I moved around like maybe 8 or 9 different times before I finally moved to Nebraska. And I moved there when I was 6 years old, so I'd moved around a lot before that. But I stayed in Nebraska for about 10 years, and then I moved to Delaware for my senior year of high school before finally coming back to Lincoln for college. I really like living here. It's a smaller town. You know, people are really nice here. There's not a bunch of traffic to worry about. And there's a lot of really nice amenities. Like there's, you know, a lot of trails, there's bike paths, and my wife's family's here. So I just really like the overall environment here. And I've liked it ever since I moved here for college. This is where I studied computer engineering back 2013 to 2017, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. I met a lot of my good long-term friends here. I even met my wife here, and I just have a lot of good memories here. My journey learning programming was a little bit different than most other people because I didn't actually grow up on a computer programming like a lot of people did. I didn't even know what programming was until my senior year of high school. I just kind of thought that computers did things and it was magic, and I had no idea how it even worked. I originally wanted to go to school to be a mechanical engineer because I like, you know, doing that math and science kind of stuff. And then I ended up taking an underwater robotics class my senior year of high school when I moved to Delaware, and we had a 1-week programming lesson in there, and I absolutely loved it. I couldn't be happier with it, and I immediately changed my major after that 1 week to computer engineering. And that was one of the best decisions of my life because I absolutely love what I do. I loved when I was a full-time web developer, and I love even more now that I actually am able to teach people web development and share that love with other people. But when it comes to my thoughts on if you actually need a degree, especially to learn web development, I really think it's quite optional. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to getting a degree. It's a great place to socialize, to meet friends, and it's really structured, so I mean, you're going to be forced to actually learn programming while you're there. But there's also a ton of downsides. I mean, it costs about $1 million. It takes 4 years, sometimes even longer to get your degree, and you're going to be learning a ton of stuff you're never going to use. In my entire 4 years that I was at college, I had one class that was on web development, and that class was using technology from 1990. it was not at all applicable to anything I was ever going to use in the real world. So I really think if your goal is just to learn programming, especially like web development, places like YouTube, boot camps, courses, those are going to be infinitely better than going to a school, just because it's going to be much quicker. A lot of times it's going to be free or relatively cheap, and you're only going to be learning the stuff that actually matters to you. You're going to be learning modern technology, you're going to be learning specifically web development, and you're not going to be forced to learn everything from 1990 and all the history and theory of computer science when you're in reality never really going to use any of that. The thing that made me end up falling in love with web development is the very first internship that I took. We were doing web development in that. I had never done web development before, so I went to YouTube to watch some tutorials to learn how to do web development from some channels like Traversy Media, Kevin Powell, and Dev Tips. And that was what really made me fall in love with web development, especially learning CSS. That was the thing that truly made me fall in love with web development, because it was something where I could just change a few things in my code and the entire website would look completely different. And having that creative design process that was built on something logical really was something I absolutely loved. And from then on, I just spent hours and hours watching videos on YouTube, reading blog articles, and learning as much as I could about web development. Even though my computer engineering degree really wasn't teaching me that kind of stuff, I was spending all my free time learning it. One of the biggest fears people have around web development, especially recently, is AI. I can't tell you how many emails and comments and questions I've got if, should I even learn web development because AI is going to replace my job, or is it even worth still pursuing this career because I'm going to be out of a job in 5 years? And in my opinion, I wouldn't listen to any of that. AI is a great tool that'll help you become a better web developer and build out better projects, but it's not going to actually replace your job. And even if it did get to the point where it was able to replace some web development jobs, that would just open up more jobs in other spaces related to programming and web development. So I don't think it's ever going to be something that truly replaces someone. If anything, I think AI is going to get better and better at helping developers make websites so that you can get rid of some of the more boring boilerplate code and instead focus on the fun parts of actually creatively creating businesses and websites that move the world forward. While I was in school and learning all I could about web development, I started to stumble upon a lot of other videos on YouTube talking about more entrepreneurial and business focused stuff, because a lot of people that get into programming do it because they want to build some type of business or service or software. And I started to learn about all these different things and it really resonated with me. I'm not really a person that likes working for someone else. I'm really bad at it and I generally butt heads with other people when I work under someone else. So being able to run my own business and my own company was something that really spoke to me. And I really kind of focused on that. I spent as much time as I could in school learning about entrepreneurial stuff, how to start a business, how to run a business. And then my senior year of college, I actually got to work on a startup as like my senior design project, my year-long project. It was actually to work on a startup for a company. And that gave me a ton of information and knowledge about how to actually build a company, all the different things you need to think about for planning a company. And it was really exciting for me. But I didn't care at all about the actual startup itself. But I just had that itch in the back of my mind, like I really need to start something. I really want to do something. And the idea that kept coming back into my mind was I really should just start a YouTube channel, because I remember learning so much from all the different YouTube channels when I was first getting started. But one of the biggest problems I ran into with those videos is a lot of them were really long. They were really long and slow at getting to the actual point. And sometimes they just weren't really to the point and simplifying something. It was just really confusing to me. And I thought, you know what, I feel like I can make a lot of these videos, but make them shorter, more concise, more simplified, and just easier to understand overall. And there's a whole idea behind starting my channel. And my goal actually when I started my channel was to get to the point where I had 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Because I'd been watching quite a few YouTube videos and a lot of people were saying, if you got to 10,000 subscribers, you could turn it into a business that could replace your full-time income, or at the very least be a part-time income for you. Well, I had no idea I would get to the point where I was. Like I said, I was really hoping to get to 10,000. I was a little disappointed when I got there because I realized at 10,000 subscribers, that's nowhere near enough to actually create a full-time job. I was still not making anything compared to what I was making at my full-time job. But getting to that point was a huge milestone for me and it felt really great. And I had no idea I would get to the point where I'm at now, that there'd be so many people watching my videos. So I was actually recognized one time. I was going out to eat downtown with some of my friends at one of my favorite restaurants. Actually, it's called The Oven. It's like an Indian restaurant. And I was showing up a little bit late, so they were already sitting there. We were sitting outside, and I just pulled in, sat down at the chair, and right as I sat down, someone walked by on the street downtown since we were sitting outside, and they looked at me and they said, "Are you web dev Simplified?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, I love your videos, man. Thanks. Keep doing what you're doing." And that was it. He just walked away, and my friends were laughing so hard because they were like, "What just happened?" But yeah, that's the one time I've been recognized, and it was pretty hilarious. Welcome back to Web Dev Simplified. My name is Kyle, and my job is to simplify the web for you so you can start building your dream project sooner. The proudest moment of my YouTube channel, there's actually two of them, and they serve completely different purposes. The first was the very first sale I ever made on my own course. This was a really proud moment, not because it made me a lot of money, I mean I made like $20 on the sale, but because it gave me the realization that this is something that I can do. I realized if I can make one sale, what's stopping me from making 10 or 100 or 1,000 and actually replacing my full-time job with something that I absolutely love. So that first sale was a really proud moment for me since it made me realize the possibility that I had with this channel. And the other really proud moment, it's more of a satisfying moment, is being able to actually see the impact I have on people. When I get emails from people that tell me that I was able to help drastically change their lives from a job they hated to a job that they love that pays so much more and is able to help them support their family and care for the ones that they love, that's the thing that really motivates me to keep going more than any amount of money, fame, or anything like that. Being able to get those emails absolutely makes my day and makes me want to make videos even more than I already do.